Okay, we've got the Pennsylvania QSO party coming up this weekend, and I thought I'd kind of go over an approach to participating in it that I refer to as casual contesting, where you don't have to really get a lot of things going on to participate and have some fun. So let's take a look at that. Um, so to get started in contesting, when you start looking at all the information on the internet and magazines and all that stuff, it looks to me like there's a spectrum of complexity and intensity that you could have um, when it comes to contesting. Um, at the one end is what I refer to as casual contesting, and that's just where you want to have some fun and maybe not to get too involved and carried away on setting things up. At the other end, the extreme end on the right-hand side, I would refer to as fanatic contesting, and that's where you want to win whatever it takes, and there are all kinds of things you can do to put yourself in a better position to maximize the number of QSOs you have. And I think Judy kind of operates at that far edge there. This will be her fourth year that she's doing it, and every year I always add something to give her a little more capability or information or whatever. It's probably more for my fun part of it than she really needs to have. But unfortunately, our home office kind of looks like a NASA center when we start the PA QSO party. You know, we've got multiple computers networked together into the internet, into the radio, and all kinds of programs going on. But you really don't need to do that to have fun with contesting. And that's what I want to talk about here. So this is the approach I think you could take. One of the big things to make it easier is to use a paper log. There are a lot of logging programs on the internet that you can download. Some are free, some are uh, cost some money. They all have different types of capabilities, which is why there's so many different ones. But I think for what we're wanting to do here, just to have a little fun with the QSO party, we really don't need the pains of going through getting the software set up and tied into the radio, so the radio sends information to the logging program. So we'll just use a paper log. And then generally in contesting, there's two ways that you operate it. Um, it really doesn't depend on your logging system, but there's just kind of two operation methods. The first one is run, referred to as run, and that's where you pick the frequency and call CQ. So in order to do that, you tune through the dial and see if you can find an open frequency. And sometimes during the contest, that gets a little hard to do because there's so many hams on the band. But you can usually find a little spot that you can get in there. Remember, you need to be about 3 kilohertz wide for single sideband. And what you want to do is make sure the frequency available and that you're legal to operate there. Now, the way you make sure the frequency is available is when you find a spot, then you just key the mic and say, is this frequency available? And then give your call sign so you're identifying yourself on the transmission. And you might pause a little bit and then do it again. Is this frequency available? K3 SKS. And if you don't hear anybody coming back, then you can assume that it's available and you can get started. And then the other thing you want to do is to make sure you're legal to operate in that section of the band, depending on what your license is. So once you find you've got your frequency there, then what you do is just start calling CQ. And one way you could do it is something like this, where you call CQ, CQ, K3 SKS calling CQ for the PA QSO party. And then you pause and wait and see if anybody responds. If nobody responds, Then you repeat that until you get a response, and then start the exchange. And we'll get into the exchange in a little bit here. The other way you can do it is to do what's called search and pounce. And what you're doing there is you're looking for a station calling CQ for the QSO party, and then when you find one, then you respond with your call sign. And what you want to do there is not respond until the calling station completes their CQ call or calls QRZ, which means who's trying to contact me. And that's a signal that the station is ready to receive the somebody calling in their call sign to get acknowledged. So say if you call your call sign, say K3SKS, and then the calling station will recognize you by calling back your call sign. They'll come back and say K3SKS, this is whatever their call sign is, and then give you the information in the exchange that we'll get to in a little bit. And then whether you're running or doing search and pounce, you're going to be dealing with pileups. So a pileup is when more than one station responds to the CQ call. And it may be 2 people, it may be 20 people. And the understanding the pileups and managing the pileups is a real key to contesting. So if you're running and you call CQ, so you do the CQ, K3SKS, and calling CQ for the PA QSO party, and then police, you press the talk button, and you hear a lot of different stations trying to get your attention with their call signs, then you have to figure out which one you want to talk to. And one way to do that, for example, some people will call back the first call sign that they heard, or maybe a later call sign that they heard. That's how they acknowledge to the station that they want to talk to that one specific station. If you didn't catch all the call signs or any call sign, then what you could do is, if you recognized or heard part of one, then you could call back and say station ending in XYZ, and that'll tell the hams in the pileup that you only want to talk to the station that had XYZ in the end of their call. So then you would call back and say, well, this is W2XYZ, and you start your exchange. Another way that I've seen or heard people handle call-ups, if there's a lot of them, is they'll only ask for 2 calls. So that would be, they only want to hear from stations that have like a K2 SKS, or you could ask for 7 calls. When you're in the QSO party, it's not too good to ask for a 3 call, because a lot of the stations are going to be 3 calls, so you're really not going to pare down the pileup very much by asking for 3 calls. But just ways, and you'll start to get a feel for how other people do it, how you do it. You'll pick up some tricks on how you do it. Excuse me. So you've got those 2 ways to approach, and I'd recommend that you start with running first, where you pick a frequency and call CQ. It'll give you a little better control over the pileup, and you can make it easier on yourself by picking out those stations that you can identify easily. And then after you do the run for a while, particularly, for example, if the pileups slow down to where you're not getting any calls, then you might want to think about tuning up and down the band, or going to a different band and trying search and pounce. So that's the 2 main ways that you operate for a contest. The other thing I would recommend is that the contest is pretty long. It runs on Saturday from noon to midnight, and then on Sunday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And that'd be a long haul. I mean, especially if you're just starting, you wouldn't want to sit there from bookend to bookend on each of those days. But what you might consider doing is do several short sessions during the contest. Maybe get on for 10-15 minutes and work some stations and take a break, go do something else, and come back a little later and give you time to have kind of a manageable block of time there to work the different stations and the pileups you may encounter. And I think it's really important to remember that we're all amateurs. They've got this little cartoon here. The only hand that makes no mistakes is one that never presses the press to talk button. Everybody makes mistakes. If you make a mistake, don't worry about it. Somebody will point it out to you. Usually they're pretty kind and gentle about it. Sometimes you get some jerks that get a little hyper, but just ignore the hyperism and thank them for the input and go on about your business. And just remember, it's just a hobby. It's not a religion. Okay, specifics for the PA QSO party. It's held in October, second week of the second full weekend in October every year. Lasts for 2 days, like I mentioned, 12 hours on Saturday, 9 hours on Sunday. On Saturday, it starts at noon and runs to midnight. And then on Sunday, it'll start back up again at 9 a.m. and run till 6 p.m. Here are some links to some website information, the homepage where you can link to everything about the QSO party. A lot of information there is here. The rules are a PDF file that you can download from this web page. The log submission, when you're done, is handled on this web page, so you can once you get the log wrapped up and converted to the way it needs to be, which we're going to cover here in a little bit, then you go to this page and submit your log. And then there's a process called spotting, which is a real-time list of contacts that have been made showing the call sign frequency and counting. And this makes it pretty handy to look for particular contacts that you might be looking for, or any contacts. So it's kind of a central spreadsheet that all the stations can use to put information on contacts they've made, and you can go take a look at that and either add a contact you made or look and see what other contacts have recently been made, and knowing the frequency, then you can go after them. So we've got an example of that a little bit later too. So since we're using a paper log, I thought what I'd do is I put together a PDF file with 3 pages of log sheets that I set up for the PA QSO party. And it's 3 sequential pages, page 1, 2, and 3. And we zoom in up here at the top. What I put in the log sheet was the first column is the band that you're on, 20 meters, 40 meters, 10 meters, the date, the time in UTC, and UTC is 24-hour time plus 4 hours. So for example, 2 p.m. in the afternoon is 1400 in 24-hour time, and then you add 4 hours to that, and then it'll be 1600 UTC. Let's say it's 8 a.m. in 24-hour time, then that's 0800 hours, and then you add 4 to that, and then you're at 1200 hours UTC. This serial sent, part of the exchange you're going to give is what the number of the contact is that you're having with the station that you recognized. So what you'll be doing, you'll be filling the row by row, and say you've just finished your 3rd contact, you'll give the number 4 as the serial number for the next contact. So the serial numbers set up on the page here. The call copied is the guy that you're talking to or girl. Call sign. The serial copied, that's the number the calling station that you're talking to gives you. That's their serial number. So if they have, say if you're their 123rd contact, they'll give you their call sign, your 123, and then the QTH copied is the location of the station. If it's a station inside of Pennsylvania, they'll give you the state, or not the state, the county that they're in. If it's a station outside of Pennsylvania, they'll give you the ARRL section that they're in. For example, if the station was in Massachusetts, I think there's 2 sections up there. There's Eastern Massachusetts and Western Massachusetts, and there are 3-letter codes for each of those, EMA and WMA. So all the ARRL sections are have a 3-letter code, which you can find on the QSO homepage, a little list of them. And if it's a DX station outside of Canada and the US, then you would just put DX there. So if you look at it, if you're running, for example, where you're sitting on a frequency, you can just put the band down one time, the date. Then all you have to do is update the time and the call that you received, their number, and their location, and then go on to the next one. And then you wouldn't have to update any of these, the band or the date, until it actually changes. So it really gets the data entry requirement pretty small. So it's easy to do. So if you want, you can make up your own, or if you'd like a copy of this, send me an email, and I'll send you the PDF file, and you can print it off and not have to mess with it. Okay, so as for the exchange between you and the station that you're contacting, the thing you need to give them, there's several things. One, you need your call sign. You give them your call sign, then you give them the sequential serial number from the log, which would be this number right here. And then, like I said, if it's a PA county, if it's a PA station, they'll give you the county, ARRL section for outside of Pennsylvania. And then in Canada, they have the ARRL sections up there. Or if it's outside of both the US and Canada, then you will just record it as a DX contact. For example, if I made a contact with someone, I would pass them K3SKS 001, meaning they're the first contact, and CLE for Clearfield. So when you give them the county, it's always a help for them if you give them Clearfield CLE. And then what the other station will give back to you is, remember, you need to update your UTC time, and their call sign, their number, which you would put here, and then their QTH. So this is a Pennsylvania station in Bedford County, so you put BED in there. So it's a really minimal, the amount of information you have to log. Now this is a spotting page. There's a lot of different spotting pages, but there's one set up by the PA QSO party that's used, and it's you go to this website, and right here, this website here will pop this page up. And what this is, the spotting page, let's say for example you just made a contact with the bonus station. And there's a bonus station, I think it's worth 200 points. That's all explained in the rules. And you want to let everybody know where that bonus station is. So you can come to this page and you could put the bonus station's call sign here, which you would have in your log, the frequency you used, the county, and there's a drop-down screen So you could enter the county you found it, any comments you want to make about it. You'd say possibly bonus station, and then who you are. You put your call sign in here. And then what happens when you do that and other people are doing it, there's a real-time table that's updated that shows you the recent contacts. And they've got them color-coded by how current they are. The yellow would be less than 6 minutes, 6 to 25 would be the orange, and so on. So you can see how long it's been since the contact of this station was made. So for this one, these are just examples. You have the time in UTC, who was spotted. This is the call sign that they were spotted, the frequency they were spotted on. You can include the county. Here's a bonus station comment, and then this is the person that spotted it. So if you're looking to search and pounce, this would be a good place to go. And on your band that you're on, or even if you can change bands, you've got the frequencies there where you can see where the station is that's calling CQ, and you can go try to work them. So that's a real handy thing for making contacts on the QSO party. There are other spotting pages that go on full time, but we won't get into that because we're just being kind of casual about this. It's even to the point that you can set up your logging program to monitor the spotting contacts and alert you when somebody on your contest is on the air, and it'll pop up a call sign and a frequency that you can go check it out. But we're not going to get that carried away here. We're just being casual. Now, when the contest is all done, you have 7 days to submit your log to the PA QSO party guys, and the log has to be sent in what's called a Cabrillo file format. And the Cabrillo file is nothing more than a structured text file that if you're using a logging program, generally the logging program will generate the Cabrillo file for you from the data in your log. If you're using a paper log, what you can do is you can go to this page here on the PA QSO party page for log submission and submit your log there. So in order to do that, though, you need to have a Cabrillo file. So I'm going to show you how you can do that with a paper log. Here's another website that was, and I think there's multiples of these around. This is the one that I found that looked pretty straightforward to use. So you go to this website, and what this website will do is it'll lead you through how you enter your information from your log, so that the website will generate a Cabrillo file for you that you can use to send into the QSO party. So it's just kind of a fill in the blank thing here on the page 1. They're asking for your email address, your call sign. You probably won't have other operators or station caller or anything like that because we're just being kind of casual about it. Then they ask you what entry your class you're entering. And for the most part, you'll probably be doing single operator assisted, meaning that you use the spotting page. And then the band, all, and then the mode that you use, if you're using phone, it's single sideband, and the power would be low. That would be 100 watts or less, and high power would be over 100 watts. This drop-down menu you can select, and then QRP I think is either 5 or 10 watts or lower. Type of station you have is fixed. Just kind of left this one blank here. This is the QTH sent field where you're at. This would be for Clearfield, CLE. And this is your claimed score. And it doesn't matter. I mean, you're just putting in what you calculate. And I won't even get into how these things are scored in any detail. But basically what it is you add up all the points for your QSOs. A single sideband QSO is worth 1 point. A CW QSO is worth 2 points. So you add all those up, and then you multiply it by the multiplier. And what the multiplier is the number of different sections that you contacted. So that multiplier will add up, say if it's Eastern Massachusetts and Western Massachusetts, that'd be a multiplier of 2. So you'd add up all your QSO points, multiply it by 2, and that's would be your estimated score. You can put a club name in here if you want. We haven't organized anything for this year. Put your full name, your address, and then you fill this out, and then you save the data and proceed to step 2. So when you click this button, if you got all the information in properly, it'll go to this page. And this is where we're going to enter the info. And the first thing they've got up here is what's called a soapbox. And all that is just a place for you to write whatever you want to write about. Maybe you had a funny experience with a contact, or just anything you want to. It's just a comment section for you for the contest. So you can put whatever you want in there. And then you come down here where you enter your QSO data. And they're telling you what to do. You're going to enter it in this window. Each of the fields must be entered for each QSO. One or more spaces must separate each item in a QSO. All dates and times must be in UTC. If the time of the QSO is not known, enter 1600. So what they have here is the header row that defines what each column is. So they got the band, the date, the time, the serial sent, that was your serial number that you sent to the other station. Call copied is the call sign of the station you talked to. The serial copied is the number that he gave you. And then the QTH copied would be the QTH, either a county or a section description. So if you look back at that log sheet, that's what they're set up in this order. So you can just come down here where they say enter your QSO data starting on the next line, do not erase this line. So you just go to your first QSO, enter that data, and then go to the next one and the next one. And what this does is it'll generate the Cabrillo file, which is a text file. Then once you got all of your contacts in, then you save your QSO data and proceed to the next step. And we'll do that. So we're at the next step. And what this is a look at the Cabrillo file, the Cabrillo log. And so this is the structured format that you need to have to send to the QSO party organizers, because what they have on the other end is a program that will take a Cabrillo file, read it, and score your log. So that's why it has to be fairly structured so that everybody has the same information in the same spots. So this just kind of echoes everything that you did on the first page. The contest is PA QSO party, your call sign. It was assisted. All bands, single side band, single operator, low power, fixed station, your claim score. So this is all the stuff you entered on that first page. And then this is just identifying how the Cabrillo file was generated, your contact information, operators, soapbox. And then if you scroll down here, it'll have the listings of all the QSOs you entered, so you can take a look at it and update it if you need to. And then once you have that, then you want to save this. I think it tells you here somewhere. Copy the complete log from start of log through end of log and save it as a text file. So I think the way I do it, I don't see any way to do a save as. I would just go into this window and do a right click and highlight all the text, copy it, and then paste it into Notepad or something like that, some sort of text editor. And then you can go into that text editor file and read it, make sure, double check your QSOs for errors and that type of thing. So it's really a pretty easy way to do it if you don't mind typing in your QSOs. Now this is one advantage of using the logging program, because this step's pretty much automatic. So probably what would drive you to the logging program more than anything is how many QSOs you have. If you only have 20 or 30 contacts, then this isn't too bad of a way to do it. If you get up into multiple hundreds, obviously it might make some sense to go through the process of getting a logging program up and going. Because with the logging program, you're entering your information as you're talking to them, and you don't have to re-enter it. One other thing I forgot to mention is that I think you need a minimum of 25 QSOs to submit a log. So that's not too hard to get over 2 days if you just put a little time in now and again. So when you have your Cabrillo file the way you want it, you can send it in. That one web page we took a look at. So kind of summarize or finish things up. Here's kind of a suggested approach I would make. So that before the contest, you probably need to read the rules. A lot of the rules won't pertain to you, but because it's very dependent upon the class that you enter. And it gets a little complicated when you start doing club and multiple operator things. So a lot of it you won't need to deal with. You want to make sure you find the spotting page we looked at and bookmark that in your web browser so it's easy to get back to when the contest starts. You want to print your paper log forms so that you're ready to go. And don't forget to check out your rig and antenna. Make sure it's running the way you think it should. And then during the contest, either do run or search and pounce, work the pile-ups, work as long as you want, quit, come back, whatever. It's supposed to be fun. And then after the contest, take a look at your log for errors. This is kind of one of the things I'm a nut about. After you do something, I like doing a debrief, figure out what went well, what didn't do so well, and what would you change next time, so that the next contest you have some improvement on it. Then you go through preparing your Cabrillo file like we talked about, submit your log, and then save all your documentation in a folder on your computer. And then you can come back next year if you want to do the same contest and take a look at what you did then, and maybe take a look at what you put down in your debrief so you can plan your next excursion. And that's about all I know. If you want to know what I see more often than anything during the PA QSO party, it's something like this. Judy really gets fired up when somebody moves in on her frequency. So give it a shot. Do one contact or as many as you want, and you may find out you have a good time. So that's all I got. It's a 73 K3SKS, and I'm clear.